Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you've spent any time at all thinking about digital security, you run into this frustrating, universal rule.
Uh-huh.
Security almost always seems to come at the cost of convenience. It's usually this painful trade-off.
Yeah, that rings true.
You want real protection. Okay, now you've got longer passwords, the ones you definitely can't remember.
Right. Or password managers, which are their own thing.
Exactly. Or you want high confidence, it's really you logging in. Fine. Enable two-factor authentication.
Which adds that little bit of friction every single time, that delay.
Every time. And VPNs. Great for protecting traffic, but suddenly your internet just slows right down. Feel like it's always friction, friction, friction.
Often is.
But this Substack we received recently, it sort of challenges that whole idea.
Okay.
Yeah, we're diving into this one specific control they label AC-11. You probably know it as device lock.
Ah, device lock, yes.
And this source argues it's like the unicorn of security, the one thing that gives you genuinely unmatched security and convenience. It asks for almost no sacrifice.
Okay, that's a bold claim. Unmatched security and convenience.
Well,
That's the core thesis we really need to unpack today then.
right.
Our mission, if you will, is to figure out why this seemingly low-effort control has such a high impact, why it delivers such a massive return.
Makes sense.
And the Substack frames this, interestingly, as the first piece in their access control series, AC,
AC. Okay.
focusing purely on proactive prevention, which is quite different from the usual focus on incident response or IR.
So prevention rather than cleaning up the mess afterward.
Exactly. That's the fundamental difference. AC stops it before it happens. IR deals with the failure.
Okay, so let's nail this down. What exactly are we talking about with device lock? Because, I mean, honestly, it sounds like the most basic, obvious feature on any phone or computer.
It is fundamental. And that's kind of the point. It's often overlooked or, crucially, set up wrong. The definition is super simple. The device just locks itself automatically after a set period where you haven't touched it.
Right, screen goes dark.
Yep. And then it needs immediate re-authentication.
Right.
Your password, maybe a PIN or your fingerprint, face scan, whatever, to unlock it again.
That's it. That's AC-11.
That's the core of AC-11. It's basically the digital version of just closing and locking your front door when you leave the house.
Okay.
And if you put it in the context of security standards, like NIST 853, this is a key control, AC-11.
And it being in the access control category is important, you're saying?
Hugely important. Access control is all about preventing unauthorized access, stopping someone at the digital door. It's way more efficient, resource-wise, than dealing with the breach later.
And the cost, the friction for the user. The Substack says it's minimal, almost laughably so.
Yeah, they quantify it as 3 seconds to unlock your device dozens of times a day.
3 seconds. Okay,
Right.
If you spread that out over a whole week or a month,
Exactly. It's negligible. Maybe, 15 minutes total time spent unlocking things over an entire month? Maybe.
15 minutes a month.
Yeah. And if you weigh those 15 minutes against the actual protection you gain, well, the ratio is astronomical.
Right.
Honestly, no other single security control really offers that kind of measurable benefit for such a tiny amount of personal effort or annoyance.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here because, we spend so much time and money on complex stuff. 20-character random passwords, hardware security keys, multi-layered firewalls, all aimed at stopping really sophisticated attacks.
Sure. Nation-state actors,
Yeah.
advanced persistent threats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why are we focusing so hard on this basic, almost mundane control? It feels a bit like worrying about the screen door when there are tanks rolling down the street.
That's a fair point. That's skepticism.
Right.
But it kind of misses the whole purpose of AC-11,
Yeah.
which the Substack is really clear about.
Yeah.
Device lock isn't meant to stop those nation-state actors. It's not your defense against the highly sophisticated hacker targeting your company's core servers remotely.
So what is it for them? What's the actual concern, as they put it?
The actual concern is something far simpler, far more common, and honestly much more dangerous, precisely because we tend to ignore it.
Which is
Opportunistic access.
opportunistic access. Okay, meaning low tech. Someone just walking up to your device.
Exactly right. It's someone who just happens to be physically near your device when you're distracted or when it's unattended, even for a moment.
Like the classic coffee shop scenario.
That's a perfect example. Or, the colleague who glances over at your open laptop screen during a meeting when you step out for literally 30 seconds to grab a coffee refill.
Or someone just picking up your phone off the table at a restaurant when you go to the restroom.
Precisely. These aren't sophisticated hacks. The Substack uses examples we can all picture immediately.
Yeah.
Probably the most common one they mention is what you might call open laptop syndrome.
Huh.
You could have, Fort Knox level digital defenses on your network, but if your company laptop is sitting open on your desk, unlocked, while you're chatting with someone 15 feet away.
Anyone can just walk up.
Anyone. Walk up, maybe plug in a malicious USB stick, or just lean over and read sensitive emails or documents. No hacking required.
That really resonates because we do tend to think the threat is like distant and digital and high tech.
Right.
But the easiest way in is almost always the path of least resistance, and nothing offers less resistance than an unlocked screen just sitting there.
Exactly. And the barrier, the lock itself, it doesn't need to be some complex cryptographic marvel for this threat.
It just needs to be there.
It just needs to exist.
Yeah.
Even that tiny 3-second delay required to enter a PIN or use your fingerprint is enough to deter almost all of these opportunistic scenarios.
Why? Because it makes it obvious.
Partly. It shifts the action from being quick, seamless, almost invisible, to being deliberate. Visible, maybe even logged, depending on the system. It creates conscious friction for the potential snooper or thief.
Okay, that makes sense. Deterrence through minor inconvenience.
Precisely. Which brings us neatly to the critical mistake the Substack identifies.
Yeah.
The thing that really undermines this whole simple, powerful control.
And it's not just refusing to use it at all.
No, it's actually more insidious than that. It's using it inconsistently.
Inconsistency. Okay. Like, treating it as optional depending on where you are.
Exactly.
I can see that. I might be super careful at the office, lock screen every time I stand up because I'm dealing with sensitive work stuff.
Makes sense.
But then I get home and maybe I disable the lock screen entirely because, hey, I live alone. Or it's just family around. Why bother locking it at home?
That exact thinking, the idea that the context should dictate the control that is the flaw.
Really?
Yeah, what's fascinating, according to Substack, is that this inconsistency doesn't just, lower your overall security posture a bit. It actively creates the specific vulnerability the opportunistic attacker is looking for. Well, if you rely on device lock most of the time, the attacker simply targets the moments or the devices where you don't.
Okay.
Maybe your phone locks automatically after 2 minutes, which is great. But your tablet, which has access to the exact same corporate email and cloud drives, maybe that's set to lock after 30 minutes. Or, even worse, you've set it to never lock because you mainly use it on the couch.
Right. Or you disable the lock on your laptop when you're traveling because you're using it constantly in the airport lounge and find logging back in annoying every 5 minutes.
Exactly that. Those gaps in coverage are the weak points.
So the security of your whole personal ecosystem, all your connected devices, it's basically defined by the one device or the one environment that has the worst protection setting.
That's it.
If the main work laptop is locked down tight, but the side door, your personal tablet logged into work accounts, is wide open.
The threat actor, especially the opportunistic one, just goes for the tablet. Why bother with the difficult target?
The lack of uniformity, the inconsistency itself, is the flaw.
Precisely. The Substack really hammers this home. The opportunistic threat actor is fundamentally lazy. They're looking for efficiency.
The easy win.
The easy win. They won't waste time trying to bypass complex security on your primary work machine if your secondary device or your home setup offers a quick unlocked entry point. Yeah. And that quick win is almost always found where the settings are inconsistent.
Okay, this is really clear. Since we want this deep dive to be actionable for listeners, let's get specific.
Good idea.
For someone listening right now who wants to make sure they have this crucial low-friction control set up properly everywhere, what are the actual recommended timeframes from the Substack?
Okay, the recommendations are pretty straightforward and based mostly on how portable and frequently handled the device is.
Right.
For your phone, because it's constantly with you, easily misplaced, often left on tables.
Yeah, high risk.
Very high risk for opportunistic access. They stress a short time frame. Go into your settings, find auto lock or screen lock timeout, whatever it's called, on your device, and set it to somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes. Max. No longer.
2 to 5 minutes for the phone. Got it. What about laptops?
For your laptop, which, typically stays put for longer stretches.
Yeah, usually on a desk or a table.
Right. You can generally afford a slightly longer window before it locks. But consistency is still the absolute key.
So, the recommendation.
Go into your system settings, find the lock screen settings, or a screensaver requiring password. Again, it varies by OS. and aim for 5 to 10 minutes of inactivity before it locks.
5 to 10 minutes for laptops. Okay.
The exact number, whether it's 5 minutes or 7 or 2 versus 3 on the phone, that matters less than the simple fact that the feature is enabled everywhere.
On all your devices? Phone, laptop, tablet.
Smartwatch, secondary computer, everything that has access to your accounts or data. That pervasive consistency is the real security upgrade here.
That makes perfect sense. It closes all the easy doors.
It does. And that brings us right back around to the central thesis from the Substack. This unmatched effort to protection ratio.
Right. Minimal effort. Huge payoff.
Think about it. We tie ourselves in knots worrying about, zero-day exploits and sophisticated phishing campaigns.
Which are real threats, of course.
Absolutely real. But we often overlook the one control that takes maybe 30 seconds to configure correctly across all devices.
Yeah.
Adds minimal friction to our daily lives, just a few seconds each time, and provides real, tangible protection against arguably the most frequent security failure scenario. Basic human forgetfulness or distraction combined with physical proximity.
Someone walking away from an unlocked screen.
It's that simple. So the Substack argues, if you're going to pick just one control to implement rigorously from any security checklist or series,
This is
arguably the one. AC-11, device lock. It gives you the biggest, quickest, and easy security improvement for the least amount of pain. It minimizes your risk right where that risk is often highest in the physical world when you step away from your keyboard.
So wrapping this up, what does this really mean for you, the listener? I think the big takeaway is that we're constantly told security demands huge effort, big sacrifices, inconvenience.
Yeah, that's the standard narrative.
But this deep dive into AC-11, into device lock, really proves that sometimes the simplest, most consistent action can yield the absolute biggest return on investment.
It's true.
We really need to stop neglecting these basic controls just because they seem too obvious, too simple to be truly effective.
And maybe connecting this to the bigger picture, it raises a really important question, doesn't it?
Which is?
What other minimal friction controls might you be neglecting, simply because they seem too basic or too obvious?
Good question.
We have this tendency sometimes to, over-engineer solutions. We look for complex software or hardware to fix what are often just simple behavioral gaps.
Like consistently locking your screen.
Exactly. We need to be a bit more critical, maybe, of our own assumptions about where the real risks lie day to day.
Okay, on that note, here's a final thought to leave you with. Something to mull over. Yeah. Take literally 30 seconds right now, or as soon as this deep dive finishes. Think about all your devices, not just your main phone and laptop.
Your secondary ones, too.
Your tablet that sits by the couch, your old personal laptop, maybe the smartwatch you use for authenticating things sometimes, the desktop computer in the spare room. Are any of them still operating on that dangerous never lock setting? Or maybe a really long timeout, like an hour?
Be honest with yourself.
Are you absolutely sure you've closed all those potential doors? Or is there one weak link just sitting there waiting for that simple opportunistic threat actor we've been talking about? Go check. It only takes a minute.